Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporters Investors Discovery Day live stream, July 22nd. We are back with one of our longtime favorites, Relay Medical. They're back with some incredible news, and we're also going to meet the CEO today. So again, for anybody that's new to our program, our goal is to bring you those stocks which have that 10x to 100x upside potential. So these are companies going after massive multi-billion-dollar market opportunities. They're at a key inflection point right now in their growth, and most importantly, there's multiple catalysts in place to ignite that shareholder value and growth. So with that said, let's meet the team of Relay, and we should do is I think we're gonna have to get an introduction to Yoav in just a second. But Clark, it's been a while since you were on, so I think for anybody that's new and people maybe to refresh people's memory, what medical do you're doing some very exciting things in the AI space, medtech. Give us the whole picture, and maybe Yoav, if you want to jump in at the same time.
Absolutely, happy to do so, and thanks. Good to see you again, Jack. What we do at Relay Medical is we have an expertise in AI and in working with devices, Internet of Things devices, specifically, or we could say with a focus in the past on medical or health tech. What we've done over the last 12 months is we applied our AI in early 2020 to develop a platform for high volume COVID testing. That's now partnered with the largest lab company in the country in Canada. And what we've done most recently is in March, we acquired a cybersecurity company that is cybersecurity for IoT devices, mature,
This
very
is Cybeats we're talking about, right?
This is Cybeats, yes.
Okay.
And so we have some updates there, but from a general perspective, what we do is, in the startup business, you have to build an infrastructure of people that are experts in their field. And what we've done is we've gotten very good at AI and machine learning and developing platforms. And now what we do is we apply those platforms to different verticals in the market, whether or not it be the testing space, it be the cybersecurity space. In another month or so, we'll announce that we've made some significant headway on our pharmaceutical adherence technology, which is using our AI to monitor the use of prescription drugs. And so really, we're a platform company that applies our core knowledge base to very high value targets that we can give a little love and bring into the market, and then exit either by way of spin out or selling the company to a bigger player in the field, or listing the company public on its own.
Okay, so that's actually interesting, because that kind of creates a catalyst for value long term. I want to kind of revisit that in a second, but let's first jump into Yoav. Yoav, I should have introduced you first because we haven't met you yet. So Yoav, welcome. So I think we should start by maybe introduce yourself, tell our audience a little bit about your background and how you got involved with Relay.
Yeah, I'll go try to do my background really fast. Basically, lots of experience in electronics and software back in the days in Israel, working on a few very interesting startups. Had kind of like engagement at different industries, mainly on the software. At some point in life, I was more attracted to medical devices, to actually create things. I created very interesting medical devices in few companies, and eventually found my way here, combining all the electronics, software, and a lot of attraction to cybersecurity from early days, that I always like touching that. And this is how we actually found Cybeats, the mature technology. Already 3 years in the market, and that was immediately a connection, because I just saw what everyone can see it, which is the huge threats that we have all around us. And that's actually helped us to make the decision to invest and acquire Cybeats.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Cybeats, because I think we mentioned it a little bit last time, Clark, you were on, but maybe Yoav, you want to explain what want to divide this?
Yeah, let's just imagine a car driving now in the street. There's lots of electronics we know that is there, but we never see the software. The software is actually connected. If we talk about cars like Tesla or even Toyotas, the new ones, and other brands, they're all connected. And things that are connected are hackable. Everything is hackable. And the problem is just increasing. And we just heard last 2 days from Biden kind of accusing China in penetrating the US on all kind of fronts. So all of these devices are actually penetrated. As part of Cybeats, we have like a research department that shows us exactly what's happening in various places. And based on that, what the technology is, there is a little agent, very small footprint agent that actually sits inside the device, inside the car in few components, or inside a security camera, let's say, in one of the manufacturing plants somewhere. And that's actually, instead of looking at all the threats in the world, it's actually looking inside of the device, making sure that the device operates as it's supposed to be, that no one else is trying to get into the device to breach the security. And once it's breached the security, it's very easy for us to detect it. Immediately, we raise a flag. So actually, we're detecting all the known vulnerability that exists today in the world, but also the new ones. We're like the first or the closest to the hacking event that actually happened. And while we raise that flag, this really helps us to understand what's going on and neutralize that. However, it all started a little bit earlier. Actually, we know the software that the device is running is actually built from many components. And some of the components you actually buy from different vendors. Like there's a software company that might do the scheduling, software company that might do the UI. And you don't know exactly what component they're using. So actually we create a list of all the software components, and based on that we can compare and see if they were hacked before or if they're vulnerable. And then we can recommend the manufacturer to design a product that is secure. So actually Cybeats provide you a huge platform that allows you to design a secure product and then to protect it in the field, but also, and most importantly, to communicate that list of components with governments, with authority, or with your client if you're selling something to the US grid or to the US pipeline. So you want that your clients will know that you created a secure product.
Okay, so before we get into like today, today's deal with Starfish and the significance of that. So the bottom line is the markets that you're addressing. So like, what markets does the Cybeats address, and how big is the opportunity that you're going after with this?
I can answer and provide actually a little bit of a background that would be, I think, helpful for people to understand just how big this opportunity is and why the companies in the cybersecurity space are so important, getting these enormous evaluations right now. Essentially, what happens is you like Yoav talks. In manufacturing, you have every day we have millions and millions of devices now coming online that are connected devices, and not just the ones that we think are smartphones or are smartwatches or wearable type IoT devices, but security cameras, dishwashers, home appliances, TVs. Everything that's essentially being manufactured new and that's electronic has the ability to connect wirelessly. It's an Internet of Things device. What's happened is that these devices, the actual technology to put the devices on the network has not stayed consistent with the ability to protect them. And so what Cybeats does is at the point of design, from the time that a manufacturer starts to even conceptualize a new technology, we are on there as a security platform. From the time that the developers just start designing the product to the time that it leaves the factory and is put out into the public, Cybeats is active and analyzing and running diagnostics related to cybersecurity. So I'll back up and tell you something and why this opportunity came to us and why it's such an interesting one. We've known about Cybeats for a couple of years because we're in the medical device business. And of course, medical devices, specifically what we do is we're bringing medical devices into the market that are connected to a network. and you're running tests or you're monitoring somebody's pharmaceutical adherence, whatever it is. Obviously, security is paramount. What we've seen since then, since us being conscious of the need there, is that in the last 3-4 months, you've had the actual Biden administration come out and announce an executive order that this is now mandated. You have to, if you are manufacturing IoT devices in the United States and you expect them to be used by the government or used by big industry, you have to have cybersecurity at these stages. You have to start doing what is called SBOM, which is basically a digital bill or a software bill of materials, and understanding every little component that is part of your TV or your car or your security camera or whatever is logged and is secure. Interestingly enough, we do this, and what's just happened in the last 3-4 months. You have the biggest Saudi oil company that was just hacked in the last week. You have the Suez Canal that was a $70 billion damage from hacked and from that being hacked. JBS Foods. So there's Tesla, Colonial Pipeline, Microsoft. There's a massive issue here now where infrastructure in our country and in North America and around the world is being hacked. Companies, specific critical infrastructure companies, food, power grids, they're being hacked. And there's now a race by the biggest companies in the world to try and find solutions for this. So just recently, in the last 6 months, Jack, you've seen JFrog just bought Vdoo, $300 million USD. The JFrog is a NASDAQ company, FROG on the NASDAQ. They bought Vdoo, which is a comparable company to Cybeats, $300 million US. They're a $4.5 billion market cap company.
Wait, I just want to back up. So you're saying there's a comp of $300 million valuation, a similar company that was just bought, similar to Cybeats.
Absolutely, that and more. In fact, you look at. Go ahead.
Your focus. So Cybeats, essentially, the focus of Cybeats is on the IoT, the IoT market, Internet. Okay.
Correct.
And so the way you got into it was essentially you're originally the medical, the testing devices, like the COVID testing stuff you're doing at the Pearson Airport. That's based on it's a wireless platform. Yep. So. And this is how you got into it. Okay, so the markets that Cybeats is going after, though, is Cybeats going to focus just on medical devices, IoT devices, or you're going to go after general IoT devices?
We're going everywhere. So anytime you're manufacturing IoT devices, we're there. So today, the big coming out for us today, we're all very excited, is we announced that we have our first, we'll call it public client that's announced with a company called Starfish, Canada's largest medical design company. So they do medical technology for the biggest companies in the country. They're Canada's largest. Last year, they were actually personally contracted by Justin Trudeau to work with Celestica on building ventilators. This is the biggest player in medical technology development in Canada. We just signed a deal with. This is to put Cybeats on all of their new developments, their new medical devices that they're developing. This is a huge deal for us, our first public client. But we're looking at the auto industry. We're in various levels of we'll call it.
What's the business model? How do you generate revenues? Like, what do you license a product? Like, how do you make money with this?
So there's a SaaS model to this. So within the manufacturing facilities, so let's take Starfish for instance. They've got a few hundred employees. They build medical devices for companies of all sizes. Within there, they will have developers who start to build and conceptualize a device or technology device on behalf of the client. And as they're building that, they install our product. And our product, as you add new components into what you're developing, keeps track of what all those are and what potential cybersecurity risks you may have, advises you on how to fix those. And then when the product goes into the commercial realm, we are then paid on a per device business model once the product goes commercial, and you want to utilize the commercial cybersecurity that is already designed from point of inception on the product. So Yoav can probably give.
So you can make a certain dollar amount per product, basically.
Yeah. So say in the consumer electronic business. So we're talking.
Wait. So Clark. So basically, so you're going to make a percentage or a dollar, whatever, per device. It's almost like a license fee. So it's a company has 1 million. They sell 1 million gizmos at $1, whatever it is. Because a lot of these IoT things are. I mean, it's a mass. There's everything. There's a lot of that are IoT that are I don't know, sell for $10, let's say, right? $100. So in theory, you could be making a couple bucks per device or whatever the number is.
So for consumer electronics, you could be making you could even be making it small. You look at a company that might develop, let's say they develop home doorbell electronics with the cameras in them, or mouses and keyboards and those type of things, connected devices like that. We can have it where it's 10 cents a device. When you get up into high value technologies, like you're talking about cars, you're talking about all the individual components of a car, you're talking about medical devices, diagnostic equipment. It can be a couple bucks per annum. It depends all on the model. The big one is in this market is that the companies, because of the critical aspect now of cybersecurity, you look at a company like Vdoo that we just use as an example. They had their last published financials were somewhere around 8 million in revenue in the last year, and they're bought at a $300 million US valuation by a $4.4 billion company. You look at a bunch of the companies that Microsoft has just bought, they're buying them, if not pre-revenue, just barely commercial. They're getting snatched up for 180 million, 500 million. The valuations are crazy. The industry is white hot because there are problems and there's a desperate need for a fix. And this is why you're seeing governments start to mandate, it's not an option for you to have this technology in your car or in your manufacturing facility. It's becoming the standard. And it just so happens that our company, the company that we acquired, has been doing this for a few years. They're not adopting, a new methodology. They predicted this. They were right, and thank goodness we got a deal done, and now we've seen since we acquired it that we're engaged with some of the biggest companies in the world, and we're feeling very good about the potential of Cybeats in the short term here.
Okay, Yoav, what kind of revenues like? Can you talk about maybe the revenue model? Like, it's like a licensing fee? Like, how much can you make? Let's say with Starfish or what's the upside potential for Cybeats?
Yeah, as you know, some of these companies, they prefer to have like the actual data secured on their specific platform. So we actually kind of do it as a platform as a service on a yearly fee for the platform, besides of the fee that we do per device. So that's something that once they work with us, they really see the benefits of having all the solutions on one platform. Because we're not just doing what each one of the individual companies are doing. We have one big platform that provide, from a design perspective, everything is integrated. So there is a very high value of what they get for the platform as service and for the device fee. And then the client can actually control everything that's going from that moment.
So it's very interesting because this kind of licensing where you're part of every part. This is basically how you mentioned Microsoft. This is how their business was built. They licensed their software. There was the operating system, and they got a couple of dollars per PC, and billions of were sold. And they built a whole business out of it. So essentially, it's the same type, because your margins are essentially it's pure profit. What's inside each consumer device, whatever, costs you nothing. You have development costs to develop the technology, but after that, it's pure profit.
Well, and you look at on that what the results of these hacks have actually had on the businesses, including loss of revenue, significant loss of revenue, significant loss of market share. So cybersecurity is not only something that is something that protects the consumer, but these companies with these now these ransom scenarios and these data breaches that we've seen have disastrous effects. If you look at what happened with Tesla a couple months ago, just through a security camera on their site that was not protected. It allowed a hacker to come in and actually get a look at their manufacturing line. So, you have these very significant issues. You don't have solutions. It's very clear that traditional cybersecurity solutions that we are all familiar with, firewalls and these things, they're not working. They're not enough for what has happened in the world today, with everything moving out of your lab, out of your home, out of your office, and these wireless devices in the field, these IoT devices in the field have issues. And for a business, a couple of years ago, a good example is a casino in Las Vegas had a fish tank that was an IoT connected fish tank, and somebody hacked in and got the high rollers list and took the data from people there. So right down to small things like that, to cars you're driving down the street and somebody can hack in your car and drive you into.
There's a massive demand for the cybersecurity, the IoT security. You know what I want to do before we get into some audience questions, and again, I mean the highlight is going to be hopefully we get some good Q&A here. But I want to ask, maybe can you also give us an update? Now, some of the other developments, I think it's important to add that you've had some of your customers. I mean, it adds some really significant validation, like the Starfish deal. Before you had the Pearson Airport, so that's a massive validation for the technology. What's happening with, maybe Clark, if you can maybe give, or Yoav, if you want to jump in, but an update on all the different aspects of your business, because I think it's important for people to understand that RELA is not just it's not a one product company. You have essentially a suite or a portfolio of various AI and technologies that you're developing.
Thank you, Jack. I think unfortunately there's been a bit of a pixelation or connection issue, but I believe I got most of your question. So number one, I heard that you referenced Starfish and some of our other clients. We've got, we've partnered with our testing business. We've now partnered with the largest lab company in the country, which is Life Labs. They're working with us across country. With our cybersecurity, we've just announced today our first client, which is the largest medical developer in the country. And our third asset that I referenced earlier is the PharmaTrack, which is something right now that we're just picking up. We had to divert our resources over to support our COVID testing business early last year because we weren't able to advance our pharmaceutical business in the middle of the pandemic.
And the PharmaTrack, just to give people a recap, because that was the original business you were developing, right? Just give a quick recap on that and the whole.
That's right. So we were set in early 2020. We were set to start some new biz dev activities, do some studies, and we had to put that on ice due to COVID. But essentially what we've developed and are developing and bringing into the market is a platform that uses various hardware tools. One which is a cluster station. It's basically a smart device that sits in your kitchen and monitors your medications as you take them by camera, and it can use AI to identify if you're taking the correct medication, if you're added new, if you're taking them improperly, and it communicates with carers and gathers that data and predicts the potential for you to miss those miss taking your medication in the future, and blah, 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 blah. It's all about bringing data from the endpoint to improve the user experience of the patient, make it easier for them to take their medication, but give the doctor and the pharmaceutical companies and the insurance companies the data that they need to support funding certain therapies and different things. So it's something that's near and dear to us. It actually shows very well how our business operates. We took that asset, we adopted certain components of it, and built a testing solution. Now we've actually taken that asset and we're adapting the AI component to what we're doing in cybersecurity. And of course, all of our devices that we're putting out in the field have now what we believe to be the best cybersecurity in the business for IoT devices, and we have it internally. So what you'll be seeing with us over the next little bit is we will continue to bring new assets off of our platform, leverage the AI capabilities, leverage the products and the IP that we have to build businesses in other industries. Right now, we're well capitalized to execute on what we're doing in the cybersecurity business. Quite frankly, the opportunity that we have with Cybeats is one that we can really, with a straight face, talk about billion-dollar valuations of an asset like this. And so we have capital that's required to bring this to the next stage of commercialization.
Yeah, so I think with this internet delay, you got to the good part, and then the internet kind of cut out. So you're saying that essentially, if I got it correctly, is that $1 billion value? That's where the internet cut out. So you got to recap that.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, what I would encourage, Jack, and I would encourage everybody to do is you look right now what's happening in the cybersecurity business. You look at the valuations that these companies are getting, and you see that as soon as they can show that they've engaged with a couple clients that are of some, that are validating clients, your market caps are going off the charts, and billion-dollar valuations are a regular occurrence now for these cybersecurity companies. And I can say very confidently, we intend to put a B on that asset, and we believe that we have. I mean, just recently, since buying obviously the company, we have the biggest, most powerful government in the world, the most advanced government in the world in the U.S. Mandate what we do. You're seeing a massive, flurry of transactions in the space. 300 million, 400 million, 500 million, small companies getting snatched up. We address multiple markets within the cybersecurity space. This asset is mature. I mean, this is not something. There's a bunch of companies who are fighting right now to try and get up the curve to be able to provide the solutions that we already have. And this company literally went commercial in the last 30 days. So we feel very good about our potential. We just signed on Chris Blask, who is a major name in the cybersecurity business, a grandfather of Firewall and of Digital Bill of Materials. Chuck Brooks, who joined as an advisor as well. He's a two or three time presidential appointee for Homeland Security. We now have the most respected medical technology development company in Canada who's signed on and say this is the solution that we need. So we are right on the cusp of some very, very exciting things, and the valuations in these markets. I can't say that the other products that we have in the portfolio have given that near-term value potential value multipliers that we're seeing in cybersecurity now, and we intend to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and I might add, Jack, that also all the companies that we're seeing that get these like enormous valuation, they're actually private. None of them is actually like the public can actually start and get into that only when there are few billions value. This is when public can actually join. And we actually not the foreign technology. We are a North American technology. Everything is like in Canada. We have the Israeli background in terms of innovation and stuff like that, as you can hear from my perfect accent. But all of that coming into play, I think we're having like something really big here.
Okay, so what's the plan like in terms of it looks like you have a couple of different different parts of RELA, the business of RELA. You have the Cybeats business, you have the original stuff. How are you gonna create value? Are you gonna spin it? Point, like what's the game plan? How are you going to really because it seems to me like there's an opportunity really to create value through a spin out of some sort. No?
Yeah, you're bang on, Jack. We're absolutely considering that now. I can say that the valuation that we believe is backed up by the industry right now is that Cybeats alone is likely worth much more than our company is valued today. And that's an asset independent of what we're doing our legacy assets that have always given us a $50-60 million valuation, at least over the last couple of years. So we're going to look to increase shareholder value. We're well capitalized, so we don't need to go out and raise more money or dilute right now. So the real contemplation is we have two businesses that are now commercial, both going quite successfully, and we're going to look to on how to accelerate their paths and their market impact, which will likely involve putting together some capital external to Relay and very much considering listing those companies on their own and dividending shares out to our shareholders and producing additional value that way. There'll be more, I think there'll be more formal kind of guidance on that in the near term. But I can say if we're getting the multipliers that we feel that we are now on Cybeats as a private entity within Relay, that it's very likely, in the near future here that we will be looking at properly capitalizing that company to make a major entrance into the market on its own. But for now, there's a lot of work to be done. We're executing. The results are there, the validation's there, and we're going to prove up as much value as we can in the short term to make that transaction a very, very advantageous one for shareholders.
Clark, so what's what are the kind of news flow can investors expect to see from Relay in the short term? Because it was a while since we heard from you, so you must have a lot of things backed up in the pipeline. What can we expect to see in the next 60 days? I know the summer is a little slow, but what can we expect to see going into September here?
Big time. So as I say, we just went.
That's the question. When can we see some action here?
Where can we see some action? I'm with you. So look, we just as I say, we just announced our first commercial client for Cybeats. We're starting to market now. We're starting to actively go out and tell the story. We just acquired the company in March, so it takes a few months to do the integration and build the team out, which is what we're doing. We'll be announcing some key executive strategic moves. We'll continue to report on some of these contracts and commercial engagements, which I think I expect. I mean, we've started with a bang. I know Starfish is maybe not a household name, but it's as good a name in Canada as we could ask for the business that we're in. It's a major validator. And we're going to look to build on that in the near term. We're going to announce more further functionality so the market understands what we have. We're doing some media. We've got other engagements, obviously, on the COVID business. We'll say biosecurity business of testing is not going away, and so there'll be lots to report on the way.
It's going to be here. It's really going to be here forever. Now we get the vaccines now. So this is going to be something. This is a long runway to revenues here.
It's a big issue. It's not going to go away. We're very pleased with how things are progressing there, and we'll make more further announcements shortly on some very interesting deployments and partnerships that we have both in Canada and on the international stage. And of course, as I mentioned, we are firing things up with the pharma track, and we have some very interesting business relationships. The medication adherence issue is it's a big one, and there's a lot of money, there's a lot of value to be created there in solving the problem that plagues so many Americans, so many Canadians in trying to manage their medication, trying to manage their parents and the people that they have to care for. And web medicine, as we've seen with COVID, has also got a premium in the market because we need to learn how to solve these problems without relying on people making their trips into their doctor's office or into the hospital every time they need to check on their medication. And we play a big role in that. So there's going to be no lack of news. We have been quiet for a couple months here in doing this integration, and now we're pretty excited for what the end of the year will bring. And we work as hard in the summer as we do in the spring and fall. So you're going to see, I think you're going to see some key developments here that will have us talking on a regular basis.
Fantastic. Okay, guys, great to get the update, and look forward to hearing more from Relay Medical, the coming weeks.
Yep.
Thank you, Jack. It's great to be here again, and we wish you a good day.
Possibly a spin-off. Oh, yo, go ahead.
Oh, I just want to thank you. It was a great opportunity.
Absolutely.
Okay. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you. Okay, let's great update from Relay Medical. Things are back on track. Let's get ready for our next exciting presenter. Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's Next Super Stock, a live stream. We are back with ESE Entertainment, ENTEF, Conrad Vasella. Conrad, welcome back.
Finally, I'm back. I'm back in business here.
It's been quite a while. It's been a few months. You've been in a quiet period because of the big capital raise, which is finally closed. So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about how you're going to be deploying this growth capital. But for anybody that's going to be watching this later, I got to do a quick intro. You know, what this live stream is all about is bringing 10x to 100x upside potential. Companies going after massive multi-billion-dollar opportunities, multiple catalysts in place to create value, and at a key inflection point. And ESE Entertainment, perfect example. Kind of, I think when you debuted on our platform, the stock was what, 30 cents? I don't know, 30 cents, whatever it was in, I think, December, hit a high of recently $4. Now it's been, you know, obviously stocks have pulled back since February, so it's been on sale. Right now it's, you know, this is the summer sale going on. We're in $1.25 right now somewhere. So people have another opportunity, another bite at the apple to get in right here. It looks like there's a nice base. And so I guess today we're gonna talk about, you know, what's gonna take this stock to a 10x from where it is now or beyond. So
just thanks for having me back on. It's like I felt like I was a caged lion just waiting to be let loose. And I could assure you guys, we were absolutely grinding during that silent period, and we have a major backlog of news that'll slowly be coming out. We just did a corporate update news release yesterday. We'll talk about that a little bit today. But, you know, to Jack's point, I think it'd be nice to just give a quick overview to some of the new listeners of, first of all, how big this opportunity is, how big the industry is.
Esports opportunity.
Esports and gaming opportunity. And then we could jump into how we're going to capitalize on that. Because as Jack said, you know, it's a little bit of a weird market, but the best companies come from tough times. And we're putting in the work, and we're going to fly out of this.
You know, I should add, this is, and again, this is not any kind of opinion or anything, but usually the best opportunities for investors are usually like in these periods when at the bottom of a bear market, everybody throws in the towel, and especially the summer. The summer is like I don't know, it's a Canadian listed company, so Canada is like amplifies that. So yeah, stocks have been like in the micro caps. I think they've pretty much bottomed here, but it's been a bear market for like 5 months already. And here we are. This could be a good entry. So, sorry, I interrupted you. Go back.
Yeah.
Continue.
I agree. And you could believe that we're putting in the work. Our business has never been healthier. But as I mentioned, you know, let's just go over some statistics. You know, Newzoo came out with a report. The gaming market is $175 billion this year. Okay. If we look at some of the recent deals in the industry, it's unbelievable. ByteDance just bought Mobile Legends for $4 billion. Huawei just did a media rights deal for $310 million, a 5-year media rights deal. Groups like Bitcraft, who are venture investors in esports and gaming, they just had an oversubscribed round of $165 million. What I'm getting at is, the 100 million type deals are now commonplace in the sector, and we're heading towards multi-billion dollar deals in the industry. So it just gives you a snapshot of really how big this is and how big the opportunity is. I said it on the show before, this is a generational opportunity. And you have to get involved now. Everyone's in this sector. Everyone's flying to this sector.
Connor, I think you forgot to mention the biggest one, which is the big elephant, which is Netflix. You're talking about generational opportunity. Right now what's happening is, and the Netflix announcement, like it completely, like
huge,
is essentially that. Look, it used to be that watch TV, movies, etc. That was their form of entertainment. Now the new generation, millennials. I mean, everybody's just doing video games. The video games is the new, what video games are today is what's, let's say, social media was before, or video, whatever, TV, whatever it was before. And Netflix, which is, they made, billions with streaming movies and shows and all that. They're getting into esports, essentially, video game, the video games on demand. So I think what that's going to do is, over the next couple of years, this is just going to add a massive tailwind to what you're doing, which is, really the esports space and everything there. So I think it's good to, let's talk about the different components, because essentially you're kind of, what are you doing in the esports space? Because you're involved in a couple of different aspects, different facets. Give us kind of the whole picture there.
Exactly. So we really pride ourselves as being the 360 solution in esports and the back end infrastructure for all these big groups. So like you mentioned, if Netflix wanted to roll out a tournament, for example, in New York, and they would go out and hire us, and we could execute on that tournament, A to Z, live, online, the social media aspect, the marketing, the whole gamut. So the picks and shovels, we could literally do everything from A to Z. And that's where I see the opportunity, because you mentioned it. When that huge tailwind comes from all these big groups coming in, they're going to look at groups like us to execute on the esports side and provide support. So to kind of break it down a little bit, so we have core pillars, the media rights and production side of the business, which has huge upside. I mentioned that $310 million deal that just got signed. You have the technology aspect, where we can host online tournaments at scale. And we also have this great technology in the digital motorsport side, where we could do 3D track scanning and implement tracks into games. We have our own professional esports team called Kick. And then the last component is just the overall back-end support. So when you have support via Discord, fan retention, fan support, we have that whole aspect covered.
Okay, so the latest thing you mentioned is the digital motorsports. That's a deal you're closing. When? I mean, this is what that's going to be closing next couple of weeks, because this was announced last 2 months ago, right?
Yeah, I can't give an exact date, but we're coming to the end of it here. So
okay,
just keep following the story. The news is coming.
Yeah, I think what investors need to realize is, like, anytime an LOI 12 months for a deal to close. It's not like it happens that Tuesday. It's usually
no, exactly. Yeah. And if you look, you can look at our other transactions. It's a very similar path and trajectory. But what's the most important part? We closed our last 2 deals, and we're going to continue to close. We're going to continue to execute. So we've been putting in the work, and we anticipate to close that very soon.
Okay. So in digital motorsports, what is again, just a quick recap what they're doing exactly.
Yeah, it puts a smile on my face, because we see it as an absolute massive growth potential. I had a call with a very high profile executive in the sector. They said digital motorsports is the biggest growth they've seen in their group in the past 20 years. So it gives you some context. What digital motorsports does is it adds to our existing digital motorsports business. So they run online tournaments as well, but in different regions. So now we could consolidate more of Europe. So they're mostly in Ireland and England. So we could really scale that side of the business. And they actually sell and manufacture their own simulators, which gives us another opportunity to scale our e-commerce sales, to implement new technologies into those simulators, to work even closer with game publishers. When they release games, we could implement those games and sell those games to our users. So what it really does is just strengthen our already existing digital motorsports business and allow us to accelerate. I would love to actually have the CEO of digital motorsports on the show. I mean, this guy is absolutely fired up. I mean, you guys got to listen to this guy.
The motorsports thing, is that, I don't think, is it a bigger deal like in Europe and Asia than in the US? I don't think people like really know too much about like Formula One, and that's not like a big thing in the US, right?
Well, I'll give you a little snapshot. So there's a company that's listed on the NASDAQ called Motorsport Games. As a standalone business, currently they're at about 250 million market cap US, but a few months ago they were a $35 stock. So that's a standalone, and we're building that internally as one of our verticals. So it gives you some context of how big that single vertical can be. And you're right. I mean, on a global scale, F1, et cetera, is a lot larger. But don't forget about NASCAR, Indy, all these other great motorsports groups in North America. And you better believe we're going to be going after those groups too.
Okay. No, very interesting. Yeah, it's funny. The other day I saw a video with some guy. I guess I don't follow I don't really follow, but it was I think this guy Nico Rosberg. He was a race car driver. He was apparently a big Formula One guy, and he was interviewing some business, and it was like very interesting. He was like driving a McLaren, like another Formula One guy that was pretty crazy. And he's got like a couple million followers, I think, on the YouTube. So more than our channel. I mean, I don't, but no, it's a big deal for that stuff in Europe. Let's kind of talk about the latest news, which we haven't addressed it. You just closed an $8 million round. So I think there was demand for a lot more, and you kind of, I think was there like demand for like 20 million plus when you closed at 8?
Yeah, it was heavily oversubscribed right out the gate, which means there's so much interest that we had to scale it back. The main reason I scaled it back is because if you've been watching my interviews, I want to keep the structure tight.
I'm glad you scaled it back. Yeah, you don't want to give away shares at these levels here.
Exactly, and I know where we're going. I know how big this is. So when you see me doing things like that, scaling back financings, keeping it tight, there's a reason for that, because I believe in this company. We know where we're going, so why would we dilute even more when we don't need the capital? We're very efficient with capital. It's been proven through our acquisitions in the past. We're going to continue to do that. We're not going to spend just because we have money. We're going to build the building blocks to get to the $1 billion+ market cap that I keep talking about. And we're not going to stop till we get there.
Okay, but essentially, so your approach, it's kind of a two-track approach. One is the organic growth, but really M&A is really what's going to get you to that number quickly. And I think we talked about, you have last time you were on, I think you mentioned you had the M&A pipeline is about 100 million in revenues in that pipeline. I'm assuming you're going to be deploying part of this growth capital, this 8 million plus, towards making some acquisitions. So give us an update. What's happening there?
Let's put it this way. The pipeline's growing, and it's literally growing month over month. People are now approaching us because we're just executing on what we're saying we're going to do. So that pipeline of 100+ million continues to grow. We're getting closer and closer to, agreements with some of those groups. I'm actually flying over to Europe in a few weeks to go and do some due diligence on some of those groups. But the most important part, you mentioned the kind of a two-layered approach. So our internal business has a great foundation and it's growing, but now we could really bolt on those synergistic groups and just add on that revenue and add on that growth, similarly to how we did with digital motorsports. So it's a robust pipeline. We're not slowing down, guys. I am not taking the summer off. Let's put it that way. It's go time right now. We're not taking the summer off. We're grinding. Our guys are in the office. We're rolling out a production in August. So when people are going vacation, we're rolling out production. So that's the mindset here. We're not slowing down.
Conrad, I think you're the only person in Canada who's not taking the summer off, because right now our audience is half of what it normally is. With the everybody's at the lake or whatever they're doing. They should be busy trading stocks. I don't get it, but whatever.
If you want to accomplish something great, you don't take summers off. It's as simple as that.
Exactly. I agree. So this is why we're here, and everybody who's watching is here right now. Listen, I think the best opportunities really happen in the summer, because again, when everybody's away, this is when you have these. This is when, like right now, I see a lot of stocks kind of bottoming out here, and a lot of people are going to kind of miss it, and then they come back in September, and something's already tripled by then. So, which ironically, the ESE chart looks pretty good based on that. So let's, I want to bring something up, which I don't know if we talked about it before, but I was talking to pretty sophisticated investor who, he's active in the microcap space in a very big way. And he actually was very impressed, because I think he was following the news. He was very impressed with the new director you brought on. This guy, was it Rick Brace? So can you talk a little bit about like who he is, because he may not be as well known in the U.S., but who is he? What is he? What kind of what is he bringing to the table? Like what's the whole story there?
Yeah, I mean, I highly recommend for everyone to Google who Rick is. What he's done in the past, it's absolutely unprecedented. So he was the former president of Rogers Media. He also helped build TSN, so the equivalent of ESPN in Canada. He signed some of the biggest media right deals around the world, with groups like the NHL, the Olympics, MLS soccer, NBA, etc. All the major sports leagues. He's been in those meetings. He's signed those deals. He's done that. So he's executed on what we want to execute on the esports and gaming side. So there's no better mentor to have than Rick. One very exciting part about his personality is he's very hands-on, and he's always available to me. He's been very important and integral in the strategy part. So we've been doing significant strategy calls internally, and he's been leading the charge. And it's just exciting. I mean, to have a guy like that to lean on, who's built, Rogers, that's a $33 billion company. I mean, what else could you ask for, right?
No, I mean, it's impressive for a guy of that caliber to join essentially, microcap company. I mean, what's speaking of which, how many shares are out after the capital raise? What are you going to have outstanding?
So right now it's about 57 million roughly shares outstanding. So still very tight structure.
So about our market 60. What are we at? 60 million market cap, roughly 70 million market cap, under 70 million.
Roughly, 60 to 65 market cap based on yesterday's close. But the reality is, guys, let's get some comparables here. We want to compare to the best. You look at groups like EGLX, 800 million market cap. They were over $1 billion market cap a few months ago, trading at $10+. You look at groups like Keyword Studios out of London, 3 billion market cap. You look at MTG Group, 1.7 billion market cap, roughly. I mean, that's what we're going for here. We want to go billion plus. We want to compete with the big boys. We want to be the next billion plus esports company. That's the goal here.
EGLX, it's interesting you bring up, because I mean, essentially EGLX is where they were maybe a year or two ago, was really not any different than than ESE today. It was a microcap stock. They did a couple of, basically doing roll-ups of, I think mostly online media assets. I don't know, it was like YouTube channels or whatever related to esports or what have you. So Yeah, I mean, really very similar. I mean, like, so I think if they could do it, I mean, if EGLX can do it, like, I don't see any reason why, you know, ESE can't do the same thing. I mean, it's so in terms of where do you see like you have a bunch of these deals at pipeline. I guess were you waiting to do this raise to close before you know, announced some more acquisitions?
Exactly. I mean, with the raise, you know, as you alluded to earlier in the interview, there's a silent period. You're not allowed to tell the market, you know, what you have in the pipeline. And now that we've closed, I could kind of get into it. And I think the best thing is just to stay close to the story and really keep a close eye, because, you know, that capital was raised to deploy for our acquisition pipeline, right? So that was the core.
Where is that going to take you? Where can that 8 million take you? I mean, can you pick up, I don't know, 50 million in revenues from that? Like, how far can that take you?
Well, let's just use facts. So previous to this raise, we raised roughly 5.9 million, and our next 12-month run rate, we anticipate to be around 20 million. So, you know, you guys are smart people watching the show. You know, what are we going to do that 8.6? I think a lot more.
Okay, so is it possible that you could exit, let's say, you know, obviously you have a big pipeline of acquisitions, but can you exit 20 this year with, let's say, 50 million run rate, do you think?
I mean, the goal is always 100+ million. And if we could get halfway there, that would be a great achievement for us.
Okay, I'm sorry. I mean, the internet cut out. What was it? The goal was, how much is the goal?
Yeah, the ultimate goal is to get 100+ million. But if we could get halfway there, I mean, that's a great accomplishment. And those are goals that we've set internally, and we're going to really push for that.
Okay, I think you're right, because it's no, that would be very impressive. I mean, even if you can get to, you know, look, I mean, the market essentially, I think the market rewards not even so much the number, it's really the velocity of how quickly, the momentum of how fast you can get there. So if you can even get to, you know, like a 40 million run rate, you could get a billion valuation, because it's not a 10x, it could be a 25x. And of course, you're gonna have to keep up the pace to keep that. But you can have these massive spikes. I mean, look, we've seen the stock run from 30 cents to $4, right? So I mean, it just kind of shows I think, which is impressive, because it kind of shows the potential that there is significant interest, especially on the sidelines, looking at the stock. And I think once things start happening, I mean, not only can the business explode, but there's obviously upside, you know, in the stock, because this thing really moves like, you know, the stock moves like lightning, essentially. So you have the 8 million. There's also warrants, right? So that could bring in how much? What's the warrants at what price?
It's at $1.95.
$1. How many warrants out there?
It's a half warrant.
So that would be 4 million or something like that.
Yeah, so we'll bring even more capital to the table. But what it does for us, it doesn't. It creates even more freedom for us not to go back to market to raise more capital. So as long as we continue to execute, I don't anticipate us needing any capital for the remainder of the year, unless an opportunity came up that we just could not turn down.
Okay. Yeah, so this is okay. Let's get to some audience questions. Okay, so we have a lot of fans here. We got this guy saying, okay, question. Revenue on WPG suggests WPG is flat versus growing. Is that the case? Trying to figure out if there's actual growth versus just M&A.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic question. And I kind of mentioned this earlier. So we've just started over the past month or two the full integration process of groups like WPG into our ecosystem. So that's when you'll see growth starting to accelerate a little bit more, because we could, work with each other and start building.
Yeah, there's a lot of massive synergies between all the components that you're bringing to the table. So Okay. Question. We're all saying, what is ESE? Is there a short squeeze? Saying is there? It's probably there's probably a lot of shorting going into the raise, right? Because I mean, this like from $3 is probably something going on.
Yeah, it seemed like that was the case going into the raise. Let's get the buying going and make them pay.
Sure. We've seen this happen with GameStop. Why not? There's another video game play. Actually, a more pure play, right? This is the Esports, more pure play. This is the next thing. Okay. So let's say, okay, so the pipeline for ESE, so the big takeaway is now you've raised this capital, you got the 8 million. That should be able to get you some more deals closed in the next probably couple of months. You have the digital motorsports that's already closing any moment now, between now and whatever. You have what else is going on? So what's the takeaway is right now? What's the in your opinion, Conrad? What would you say are the top 3 reasons why investors should consider ESE today?
It's blatantly obvious. This is a multi-billion-dollar opportunity, a generational opportunity for people to get in a booming industry. And 2, you're investing in a group that's delivering time and time again. We're executing and delivering. And we're working during the summer. Who do you want to invest in? What type of company do you want to invest in? A guy who's grinding over the summer or a guy who's vacationing? So, I mean, I just want to leave you guys with that takeaway. I think the greatest opportunities are in markets like this, and you pick your winners now because it's going to be too late down the road.
Okay, so let's talk about what's happening in terms of news flow. What can we expect to see in the next 60 to 90 days? September here, because you've been quiet, so there's it's like a volcano. The volcano is about to explode, perhaps.
Let's put it this way. I think the best thing is to get me on the show more often, because there's going to be a lot of news. There's a backlog. Just keep your eyes and ears peeled. Follow the story, guys. Get back engaged with the story, because the news is there and it's coming, and it's going to be consistent.
Okay, excellent. Conrad, on that note, I want to thank you, and we hope to have you on back very soon. Not 3 months like last time or whatever.
Exactly.
However long the race was, Okay, thank you again.
Thanks, man.
Oh, Conrad, hello, Conrad. I think I cut you off too early.
No.
Okay.
No, I was just saying thanks to everyone, and keep an eye on the story, guys. Thank you.
Thank you again. Okay, so let's next presenter. We're gotta stand by here. We have Delic Holdings. Okay, we have to. I guess we have to. We're waiting here. Hang on a second. Okay, stand by. Okay, I'll be right back.
Hello.
There we are. Okay, can you hear me okay?
I can. How are you?
Okay, great. I was worried about you. I was just calling you.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
All right.
Trying to get the setup set up.
Okay, we are back. Let me just get I want to get the setup. So I just want to get you more in the frame here, like maybe get the camera down a little bit.
Okay. You mean up?
Like, or up? Yeah. So we have more. Yeah, like that. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Like this. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, we're at the same height here. Okay, let me just make sure we have everything ready to go. Take a drink of water here. We'll do a little countdown, and we will get started in. Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock live stream, July 22, 2021. We are back with Delic Holdings. Let me just put up the banner. What happened to the banner?
It was up there before.
It was up there. It was up there before. What happened to the banner? Okay, so where is our banner for Delic? Here we go. Okay, Delic Holdings. There we go. Okay. So welcome everybody back to our program. Our goal is to bring you those stocks which have that 10x to 100x upside potential. Companies going after multi-billion-dollar opportunities at a key inflection point and with multiple catalysts built into the stock, which could ignite that shareholder value. With that said, Delic is definitely meets all three of those in the right space, the psychedelic space. Multiple catalysts, which we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about one of the big catalysts. I think it's a big catalyst. And of course, the company's at this inflection point where, you got the clinics and everything else. So, Matt, welcome back.
Thank you. How are you?
Okay. I want to get into, I wanted to kind of dive into today's news, which I think is very significant. I don't think investors really understand how important it is. From like the marketing, the big picture perspective, but I think this is like one of the most important announcements they've had besides the acquisitions of the clinics and the lab. I don't know if you agree or not, but it's just
I do. I think it's going to be a really incredible. What we're talking about, guys, is Meet Delic, 2021 happening in Las Vegas, and we just announced our business lineup, and it's really just incredible. We have 30 people who are incredibly powerful across different aspects of the industry, from the husband and wife team that developed psilocybin for FDA use to the woman who built the world's largest psychedelic VR engine.
But this is just I should say it's like a trade show conference. It's really a conference, right?
It's a conference. Yeah, it is the first ever of its kind. It's a psychedelic wellness, education, and entertainment. We call it edutainment because we like to be playful here. But it is everything psychedelic in one place, at a place that is already probably the most psychedelic venue you've ever seen. A place called Area 15 in Las Vegas that they spent hundreds of millions of dollars building, and it is a giant Burning Man mall, so the whole place looks like you're.
That's the Burning Man mall. That's a good kind of this. Okay, the elevator. Yeah,
it feels like you're at Burning Man, and you're also at an incredibly high-end mall right off the Las Vegas Strip. So It's kind of incredible.
Okay, so basically, here's why I think this is really important, and we're going to talk about some of the speakers we have and all that other stuff, because this event is going to get. It's the first of its kind event. The first event of its kind focused on the psychedelic space, the business, the educational aspect, the whole kind of ecosystem. And how many people are you expecting at this event?
Yeah, we're looking at about 10,000 people across 2 days.
A lot of people.
It is, and it's right. The reason we're doing it in Las Vegas, it just is a center
place. Where else?
Yeah, it's the place. It's the place to have a large conference, right? You bring together people from all over the country, even the world, even with COVID.
And they're excited. They're excited to be back in Vegas. That's the place. I mean, they're not going to go to Newark, New Jersey for a psychedelic conference.
Exactly. They're going to a place where there's plentiful hotels, great stuff to do, and just, it's easy to get to from anywhere because obviously the casinos subsidize all the rides. So, they make it very very affordable to have people come in and enjoy themselves. And so we're really super excited about just bringing together people from across the country and the world to really learn more about psychedelics as they develop. So, for us, it's really making Delic the center point of psychedelics and psychedelic wellness in America, and bringing together the best in class across all of it, across science, culture, business, technology, just everything and anything you can imagine as it intersects with the world of psychedelic wellness. Those people will be there, and really kind of talking in a way that's not let's say dry. We're trying to bring people together in a way that is interesting, fun, and gives people who come a really great experience.
Okay, and I think I should add, for anybody that doesn't know, you were the publisher of High Times magazine, which was like the publication for the cannabis business from before it was legal.
Exactly. Well,
the media side, you know how to do this. This is not like some guy just saying, hey, I'm going to try. I mean, this is basically what you know how to do.
Yeah, well, I brought the Cannabis Cup to America and got 50,000 people to come to these events to really kind of understand as cannabis went from black to gray to white in a very similar style as what's happening with psychedelics. So we think there's an opportunity and a moment now to bring people together in a really interesting way. And so that's our focus.
And this is part, okay, so there's three aspects to Delic Holdings. Okay, I think that's why you have the name Delic Holdings, right? You have three, as far as I'm right, you have three parts. You have the clinics, right, which is the ketamine, the clinics, which is going to be a huge part of the business. You're going to roll. We'll kind of recap that. You have the clinics, you have the lab, which develops kind of proprietary formulations, CPG products, like the what do you call it? Inhalable mushroom?
Mushroom vaporizer.
Vaporization, all that
contract
good stuff.
Research for other large organizations looking.
And they're all generating. So all those things are generating. They're all all generating revenues.
That's right.
And then you have the media side of Delic, which is you have the what is it called? The Reality Sandwich, which is
a website for information and news around psychedelics, and that gets a couple 400,000 people a month coming to find out more about psychedelics. And then the other side of this media is the media business is this event, and we think it's just a great way to bring people together and just make us the kind of leading voice in psychedelics, right? We think that having that center point and having that lightning rod to pull all this energy towards gives us incredible deal flow, incredible opportunities, incredible vision and sight into what's happening in psychedelics. And, being the place that people come together always gives great opportunity.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think to me, I think the most significant aspect of this is what you just said now, is that number one, it really brands you as essentially the thought leader, or the kind of the leader in the psychedelic space, the authority in the psychedelic space. And you're going to have essentially anybody who's anybody in the psychedelic space is going to be there. So it gives you the branding, and then most importantly, as far as I'm concerned, is the deal flow, because you're going to basically have everybody there. They're going to see Delic. It's different when you're doing it. It's a different thing than when you just call up a guy on the phone and say, hey, I want to buy your mushroom company, whatever. It puts you on a kind of a different level. And the other thing is, these things actually can make a lot of money. I mean, the conference business is a great business. I mean, I don't know, what could this generate? I mean, a couple $1 million. I mean, whether it's this event or
Yeah, well, I think that's exactly right. When I was at High Times, the conference business was generating about $20 million a year. So
$20 million a year.
Yeah, it was a very real business.
And that's cannabis. How much? Okay, that's interesting. So, how much do you think the psychedelics conference business can generate? Your events business.
It really depends on how much the industry scales out, right? It's all down to industry macro trends, but we think that there's a whole lot of growth potential coming across all these different sub facets of psychedelics. And so, yeah, we think this is a real multi-million-dollar business. and we think it just has incredible competitive advantages for us across all of those different pieces that we talked about, across, just being that thought leader, having the deal flow, having the, bringing the people together and creating that, the creative capital kind of, the thing that capitalism is good for and events are good for, and especially conferences, bringing people together and creating new businesses, new opportunities, and being a part of them because you're the one who kind of oversees it all, right? So
right, yeah. So this is it's an incredible opportunity. So let's get into the details of the event. Who's you're gonna have? It's gonna be 2 days, right?
That's right. And
what are you gonna have? Give us anybody that people would know, like some of the name brand guests.
Yeah, so we have Aubrey Marcus, who's Joe Rogan's partner in his supplement business. So he's kind of speaking for that wellness side of things. We have Duncan Trussell, who had a top 10 show on Netflix a couple months ago. Has one of the most popular podcasts in the world.
Is Joe Rogan going to be there? Is Joe Rogan coming?
I don't know. He is not officially speaking, but some of his friends will be there, so we'll see.
Because he's a what do you call it? He's a mix. Oh, it was the UFC. He's a
and he's a big fan of psychedelics on his own.
Yeah. Have you ever tried DMT?
Yeah, exactly. And then we have Jason Silva, who is the host of a National Geographic show, famous, kind of thought leader, really interesting. We have so many amazing people. We have Dr. Carl Hart, who's been in every newspaper for the last 6 months for writing a book on how to do drugs for grown-ups. And both love him and hate him. He's been a best-selling author and brilliant at what he does. We have, as I said, the founders of Compass, the folks who are in the process of making psilocybin an FDA legal drug. So they're putting in their phase 3 clinical trials right around when we have this going. We have the folks who ran the initiative in Oregon to legalize mushrooms there. It's people from across this world. We have the manager of the Grateful Dead coming. We have, just a really wonderful kind of cross section of the world of culture, art, and science around this stuff. So I think people are going to be who are interested in what's happening in psychedelics now are going to want to be there because they're going to see and hear a bunch of really interesting conversations. And I think there's virtual is great. I love I'm glad we're on here speaking virtually, but there's nothing like in person for really breaking those boundaries and having that serendipitous interaction and the ability to find new and wonderful things and hear things that people might not have said if they're sitting at home on their computer, but if they're together and happy and relaxed, things happen, magic happens. And I'm a really true believer in that. So I think it's going to be pretty fantastic.
So it's interesting. So this is that third, part of this. This is the third leg of the stool of the psychedelic stool. So it's really, essentially Delic is one of the few pure play psychedelics companies that is starting to revenue. So you have, and we'll dive into that. You got the clinic side of the business. We'll talk about. I'll let you kind of recap the revenue side there. You got the lab business. Now you have the media side of the business. And one thing I think maybe you should bring up again later is the how the whole thing ties in with the website. People that with the research and that's so there's a whole. It's not just a simple media. There's a whole
ecosystem
database. There's a lot involved in this, which. It all essentially, I think of kind of Delic almost as essentially it's a pure play on psychedelics and covering various different facets of it in a way.
Yeah, that's what we're doing is putting together something that we think is really helpful for everyone to access psychedelic wellness. As you said, we have the media side, which allows people to kind of discover, so they can search on Google or on some organic search. They find our site, they look up more, they can come to the event and experience it in person, and then they can go to our clinics and try psychedelic wellness in real life, legally, safely, and efficiently. And we think that that's just such an interesting ecosystem that no one's built yet. and really gives us a huge competitive advantage. And as you said, I think each of these is a revenue generating business. We're not looking 20 years down the line or 10 years down the line for something to be $1 billion business. We're looking at 1 or 2 years down the line for this to be tens of millions of dollar business, right? And I think, you just look at the clinic business, as we said last time we spoke, we're on trend and on track to get up to more than a dozen of these things and generate, millions of dollars in revenue there. The lab business is doing, call it, over $1 million run rate and keeping expanding. As you said, the event business is a $1 million business, and we just think all of these things together, not only do they generate revenue, but they reinforce each other and reinforce that, the business, right? It brings more people. The more people who see it, the more people.
It's a virtuous cycle. It's a flywheel. You have the whole flywheel going. And
exactly, we're building a real flywheel. And like you said, we have this media portal that we are using to capture data, right? So as we build it out, we'll be capturing more and more data. And as we create our own IP and release those products to the world, people will be able to then input data into the front end of our media portfolio, and then we're able to capture really interesting longitudinal data on how stuff affects people that it is quantity wise and quality wise the same as what people would get if they were doing a clinical trial. So we really think it's a very interesting way to get to that kind of data and that level of IP development without having to spend hundreds of millions of dollars and make $0, right? And we think that's going to be a very interesting thing over the next 2 years as other people are still stuck in neutral and we're growing exponentially.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of demand for this, this data that you have from these pharmaceutical companies. Nobody else has it. This is like, and you essentially, and again, this event, you're doing these events, the media side that reinforces Delic as the, as the authority in the space.
Yeah, exactly. And that's been, our push all along since we founded it 3 years ago was to help mainstream psychedelic wellness and be that center point for people looking to understand, learn more, and really just experience it, right? And I think it's just more and more. I get this every couple of days. Someone's seen a study or seen a report or seen a thing in the Times, and they're like, how, what, where? Because this seems amazing, and there seems like there's no treatment for my anxiety or my depression or my PTSD, but now people are saying there is. What do I do? How do I find it? Because people, they hear about it. It's out there in the ether, but no one knows who to trust to actually do it for them. And that's really what we're building in that flywheel is authoritative domain authority, right? So that when people go looking and we have, a dozen, 2 dozen clinics, they know, okay, well, these guys are running the top show in the space. They have the best website in the space, and they have a place for us to go try it. That seems smart, easy, and kind of a no-brainer, right? And that's when it comes down to trusting your wellness with someone, you want to have some ability to understand why they're doing it right? And so that's what we think is super important, is building that out.
Yeah, no, you have it's pretty interesting that you have this, you have this flywheel, you have the whole psychedelic ecosystem in one package. Like, I'm looking at this from like an investor standpoint. Look, the psychedelic space, it's still building. It's kind of where cannabis was early on. Like, first you had this big run up, then it kind of came down, and now I think it's going to get ready for the next big wave. And at that point, I think investors are going to be looking for, okay, where, which one is the pure play? Where can I place a bet, and which gives me kind of the most bang for the buck? And I think with Delic, if you have these 3 aspects, whether it's, in a worst case situation, because you have these 3 different components of the business, at least one of them could be worth a lot of money, right? I'm sure obviously they're all generating revenues, but you have multiple shots on goal. Like at any point, one of these businesses could really break out. So it's really something where people can get, like, okay, if they want exposure to the psychedelic space, here's one stock that they could buy for, what is it, 30 cents now?
Exactly. It's somewhere in that 27 cent.
It's the summer sale going on. Question: how many shares outstanding, fully diluted?
I mean, I think at this point we're at about. See, there's a multiple voting share structure for the American holders, so it's hard to do the fully diluted. I think it's around 60 million, maybe 70 million, depending on how you slice it.
Okay, so worst case, 20 million valuation right now.
Yeah, exactly.
$20 million valuation, and your run rate right now basically is. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to because you get the labs. You get the clinics, you get the labs, which are already generating. You got the event.
Yeah, we're on a couple $1 million run rate right now. And keep, as we build out the clinic business, you're going to see that hockey stick up quite a lot.
Okay. What do you think? I mean, do you want to? What do you think you can exit this year, 2020? You're in a calendar year. You're in a calendar fiscal year.
Yeah.
What do you think you're going to exit? What kind of run rate are you going to exit 21 at?
Based on all the stuff I'm seeing, call it an $8-9 million run rate, something like that.
8-9 million run rate. Okay. So I think So I mean, the stock could trade 10-20x that by December. I mean, because it's forward looking. So
exactly. I think
million, okay.
As we grow and people see the execution on what we've talked about, I think people will feel like they're going to miss the boat if they don't get in, right? Because it just as it compounds, as the growth compounds, people just see that they're missing out on a real growth stock, and I think that's really impressive for folks.
Okay, let's last question. What other kind of news flow can we expect to see from Delic in the next 30 days? Hopefully we'll have you back on sooner, but what can we see in the next 30 days? Or before September, let's say it's 30, 60 days.
Sure. So I think some more stuff from the labs that's really interesting. We've got a couple of big things brewing, and some really nice action on the clinic side. So I'll be back to talk about that as we really show our path to that dozen or more clinics, and some more stuff on this event. I really think more people and more amazing kind of high level stuff happening in our center point event in Las Vegas. So you'll see me again in the next couple of weeks with some great announcements, and I think as that news flow comes out, people will start to really see we're executing on what we say we are, and that growth will just keep building.
On that note, I want to thank you, and we look forward to having you on very soon.
Thank you so much. A great one, Jack.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We'll see you in the next one.